Whatever. Once upon a time, in a faraway kingdom full of daisies in the meadows and moss in the woods, there lived a young princess called Glossilda, Glossie for short. She had lovely long blonde hair, pretty green eyes, and plump pinky red lips. She wore beautiful swishy dresses like this, and shoes like this, and hats like this, or this, if it was cold. It would be nice to think that with such lovely looks, Princess Glossie had a heart and mind to match. But she didn't really. Oh, she could smile and wave and curtsy and do all that royal business when she had to. In fact, most of the common people in the kingdom thought she wasn't half bad as princesses go. But for those who had to live with her, her mum and dad, the palace staff, the fairy godmother who rented a room in the basement, for all of them, Princess Glossie was, frankly, hard work. You see, she just didn't seem to care about anything at all. Her very favourite word, possibly her only word, was whatever. And it drove the whole palace either up the wall or round the bend or somewhere else it really didn't want to visit. When the palace cook asked Princess Glossie what she would like for breakfast, she said, whatever. When the palace dressmaker asked her if she would prefer her dresses encrusted with sapphires or emeralds, she said, whatever. When her dad, King Gordon the Grand, asked her if she fancied a night at the opera or a trip to the sparkling spring spa in distant shores, she said, whatever. Often Princess Glossie's mum sighed. It wouldn't be quite so bad, she said, if she didn't shrug every time she said it. But Princess Glossie did. She said, whatever, and shrugged. And sometimes she tutted as well. I'd rather listen to nails scraping down a blackboard than that tutting, muttered the palace cook. A lot. Finally, Princess Glossie's mum, Queen Carol, in case you're bad at history and can't remember who King Gordon was married to. Finally, Glossie's mum picked up her silver-plated tin can and string speaking machine and called the fairy godmother. I mean, said Queen Carol, it's not as if you've done much so far, and you get that basement at a very good rate. Time to start pulling your weight, dear. The fairy godmother put her tin can down. Hers was not silver-plated, but it was the latest model. She knew the Queen had a point. She'd been sponging off the royal household for years now, without doing anything that you could call godmothery. And she understood how they all felt. Princess Glossie's whatevers were awful. So she polished off her morning box of chocolates, hopped off her daybed, and fluttered up to the second-to-top shelf of her rather small magic book library. When she found what she was looking for, taste of own medicine made easy on a budget, she dusted off her equipment, found her wand down the back of the daybed, where she also found an apple core and a takeaway menu, and got busy. 3 days later, after the palace had been filled with at least 32 different worst smells ever, and the palace dressmaker had been sent out in her lunch break to buy gas masks for everybody, the fairy godmother flapped up from her bedsit and found Queen Carol. Where is she? She whispered. In the loo, said Queen Carol. Perfect, squealed the FG. She hovered about the ceiling outside the loo and when Princess Glossy emerged, gave her a good sprinkling of some very powerful, cut price and invisible magic dust. It was a splendid early autumn day, and Princess Glossy wandered out into the garden. She looked a bit bored, but it was only 10:30 in the morning, so she hadn't started tutting yet. The fairy godmother, bobbing along at ear height beside her, took a deep breath. "Good morning, Your Highness," she chirruped. She was so out of practice at this kind of thing, her tummy felt a bit funny. "I was just wondering, Cook wanted me to ask you if you wanted tea or coffee for Elevenses today." Princess Glossy shrugged. "Whatever," she said. The fairy godmother gave a tiny whew of relief. Teeny weeny beads of sweat flew out of her tiara. Now for step 2. "And the dressmaker wanted to check if you'd like diamonds in your new winter cloak or poison darts." "Whatever," shrugged Princess Glossy, and she gave her first tut of the day. The fairy godmother felt herself bounce up and down in excitement. It was working. Just one more question. "And His Majesty, your father, wondered if you'd prefer a sunset ride in the royal hot air balloon or to be carried off by a hungry, fire-breathing dragon." Princess Glossy stopped and glared at the fairy godmother. "Whatever?" she said, in tones of right royal exasperation. The fairy godmother whooped in glee and clapped her little hands, and at that moment an enormous purple dragon swooped down from a small puff of cloud high up in the autumn sky and grabbed Princess Glossy in its claws. "Hello!" cried the dragon. "I'm hungry and I breathe fire!" It gave a short but impressive display of its fire-breathing talents and then flew off with a slightly shocked-looking Princess Glossy dangling from its purple scaly feet. They flew for hundreds of miles, and when they got to the dragon's foul-smelling lair, the happy beast plonked the princess onto a carpet of finely woven rat tails, which the dragon had picked up cheap at a market in East London. It looked at her for a moment and then said, "Shall I marinate you in a spicy sauce or just sprinkle you with salt and pepper when you're done?" By now, Princess Glossy had realised that actually she no longer cared for the word whatever. It didn't really express the essence of her true feelings. She didn't want to say it anymore, didn't even want to think it. But when the enormous purple dragon asked about marinating or salt and pepper, she felt something weird grab hold of her tongue, some invisible force twist her lips, and before she could begin to think about saying something else instead, she cried. Back at the palace, the fairy godmother flew like a crazy ping-pong ball into the living room. "I did it!" she cried. "My magic worked!" "Oh, well done you," said Queen Carol. "Any sign of Elevenses yet?" That evening, the palace cook served up the royal favourite dinner of pasta and chips. "Oh, yummy," said King Gordon. Said Queen Carol. "Oh, cook, I don't suppose you know, do you? Is Princess Glossy back yet, or should we leave the hall light on for her?" The palace cook shrugged and tutted. "Whatever, Your Majesty," she said. "Quite," said Queen Carol.